r/AskReddit by Redmond ETS. What is the worst health advice you've been given? Doctor said certain pain is normal as you get older. Turns out it was cancer. That's a fibrous strip of breast tissue. You're too young to have breast cancer. Delayed diagnosis by 6 months. I was 31. No one is ever too young for cancer. They should damn well know that. I know someone whose sister died in her early 30s because she was too young to have skin cancer. Just push through whenever you're sick. If you can get to a doctor's office for a doctor's certificate, you can get to school or college or work. My childhood pediatrician told my parents that a sick child never smiles. I tend to laugh or smile when I'm nervous or uncomfortable to self-regulate. A doctor once told my parents that a child who isn't crying can't really be hurt. Because of that, it took me days to convince my parents to take me to the doctor after I fell on my arm because I wasn't crying. It turns out it was broken. I was not the recipient of this advice, but I had a co-worker proudly say how small her new grandchild was when they were born and that her daughter smoked her whole pregnancy to try and have a smaller baby. This was in like 2010, not the 1960s for reference. Edit to add. Smoked cigarettes clarified since that can mean more than one thing. I was having chest pains and I went to my primary doctor. She said she'd send me to cardiology if you want me to. I decided to go. Lots of folks may have waited or decided not to go given the doctor's lack of concern. Went to cardiology. Doctor said I could do a treadmill test, which I had passed the year before just fine, or I could get an angiogram. It was up to me. The angiogram has some risk but is more accurate. I went with the angiogram. I had a 90% blockage of the widowmaker artery. I was a ticking time bomb. I got stents, changed my lifestyle, and I've been great for 6 years. Bottom line. If you don't feel right, get checked out and advocate for yourself. Doctors will let you die if you choose not to pursue treatment. My primary doctor kept telling me that nothing was wrong with my thyroid, and I was a hypochondriac. I had been told at 12 years old that I had thyroid issues and she told me that doctor was wrong. I had to see a whole other doctor to get a referral to the endocrinologist because she literally refused to refer me to one. The endocrinologist said I had scarring all over my thyroid, I had Hashimoto's, and my levels were horrible, and she didn't know what the doctor was talking about. She said she was glad I advocated for myself. Was sick for a year in my late teens. Saw multiple specialists to find the cause. Experimented with diet. Saw a naturopath that did some electric pulse test thing that apparently gave indicators of organ health. After a few visits and months of eating the weirdest stuff, the test said things were improving, including my gallbladder. Months went on but I was still quite sick. I eventually ended up in hospital and one of my specialists decided to take my appendix out on a whim to see if it might help. Turns out I had something called a grumbling appendix and it completely fixed me. Funny thing is, while they were in there, they discovered I was born without a gallbladder. What were your symptoms? Fairly persistent low-level nausea that every few days would blow up to projectile vomiting. The strangest thing was that the vomiting usually occurred around 11 PM. It was a rough year. When I had an urinary tract infection, someone told me to wash my vagina with vinegar. Bleeding heavily for 5 weeks. Menstrual cup had to be emptied 3-4 times a day. Pain on and off, meaning not every day. Some days enough to really bother me, which worried me because I don't pain. Not a complainer by any means. Primary care doctor said it was an ulcer from stress. I countered with ulcers do not cause vaginal bleeding. She gave me 30 pills to take 30 minutes before breakfast once a day. I asked her if I should see my OBGYN as well. Same building. Nope. I should have followed my gut. 2 weeks taking the pills and still 2 main symptoms. Plus really fatigued, which was new. OBGYN was with me 10 minutes before she did a quick ultrasound and sent me across town to the hospital for emergency intravaginal ultrasound, saying she should have seen me 3-4 weeks before this. 1.5 hours later I was admitted and on morphine due to a highly septic ectopic pregnancy. I lost a fallopian tube and ovary and had 3 blood transfusions. I freaking was bleeding out for weeks. Screw that primary care doctor. If you have pale skin, get just a little sunburned every day so that your skin will learn to get a tan. That's how everyone else does it. My solar keratosis skin cancers would beg to disagree. I was told my mental health issues were caused by my parents being different flavors of Christian, which left a gap so the devil could get in. The school nurse telling me to tilt my head back for a bloody nose. That was an awful experience. This was literally the standard in first aid training for years. Do not recommend. What do? Lean forward and pinch the bridge of your nose. A dude at work swore by putting ice in a towel or a rag on the back of his neck. A friend of mine was in horrible pain and was repeatedly told by multiple doctors that she should stop complaining and just get used to it because periods are painful and that's the way it is. After being blown off for years, she finally got a doctor to take her pain seriously, and it turned out she had severe endometriosis. The surgeon said it was the worst case he had ever seen in his career, and was horrified that it had gotten so advanced with no one listening to her. From a boomer to me, working in a warehouse that had no AC during a heat wave in summer. You sweat so much because you drink too much liquid. That if I had just made my body more alkaline I wouldn't have had Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's not how any of this works, at all. I had severe digestive problems. If I ate too much, more than about 700 calories a day, I would spend days on end throwing up, even water. Walking helped with digestion, but it was tough because it took so many calories. I lost 50 pounds in 5 months. My gastroenterologist blamed it on menstruation. Listening to a chiropractor. I went into a dress neck pain and walked away with a pinched nerve and in severe pain for 9 weeks. My mother had to undergo 5 major back surgeries because her chiropractor messed up her back. It will never be fixed completely. I will never go to one. Please everyone be safe out there. And this is why I do not trust chiropractors. I was dying to go to a chiropractor until I read about them and Reddit. Physical therapist it is. Emergency doctor told me my miscarriage was because of my tattoos and I clearly had hepatitis C. Tattoos were 5-6 years old and I had a full panel done the previous pregnancy 3 years before. A family doctor told me I didn't need birth control because you're married and if you choose not to you won't get pregnant. From a physician's assistant. Don't see a dermatologist, you'll just embarrass yourself. This comment was regarding a teensy spot on my stomach that wouldn't quite heal. A month later, I went anyway. 2 operations later they got all the skin cancer out. The reason I saw the PA was because my doctor went to some kind of concierge service where I had to pay another $1,000 a year on top of health insurance to get the good care. I refused. Needless to say I dropped him after that. Good thing about living in Australia is doctors will always take weird moles and freckles seriously. Melanoma kills. You have too many toxins in your body. Subscribe to this holistic newsletter and buy these herbal supplements. They will fix your problems. Ignore it till you can't anymore, then get it checked out. I tell myself that anyway. The pain and fever is probably from your birth control. College nurse. It was a kidney infection. I spent 4 days in the hospital. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.